Somewhere in your life, without even realizing it, you began handing over the keys to your own mind. Not to one person, to everyone. To the stranger who criticized you, to the friend who doubted you, to the failure you never fully recovered from, to every mistake that still whispers in your memory, long after the moment has passed. Little by little, your peace became conditional. Your confidence depended on success. Your happiness depended on approval. And your courage depended on whether life felt fair that day. Most people never notice this happening. They simply call it normal. The Stoics called it slavery. Not the slavery of chains, but the slavery of an uncontrolled mind. Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that nothing outside you has changed. Your job is the same. Your responsibilities are the same. The people around you are the same. Yet somehow, everything feels different because your mind no longer bows to every inconvenience, every insult, every disappointment, or every fear. That wasn't a fantasy to the Stoics. It was the result of deliberate training. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire on earth, yet he understood something that many people still struggle to learn today. A man can command armies and still be defeated by his own thoughts. He can possess wealth, influence, and respect, yet remain a prisoner of anger, anxiety, and endless desire. Real strength has never begun with what you own. It begins with what owns you. This is why two people can face the same setback and walk away completely different. One spends years replaying the pain, allowing a single moment to define an entire life. The other quietly absorbs the lesson, grows stronger because of it, and keeps moving forward without bitterness. The difference isn't intelligence, it isn't luck, it isn't talent. It's the habits they've built inside their own minds. The truth is that every day, whether you realize it or not, you're practicing something. You're either practicing resilience or practicing fear. You're practicing discipline or practicing excuses. You're becoming calmer under pressure or more controlled by it. The frightening part is that these habits don't announce themselves. They grow silently until one day they become your character. That's why today's conversation matters, because the 10 Stoic habits you're about to discover aren't designed to make you feel motivated for an afternoon. Motivation fades. These habits are designed to reshape the way you think, respond, and live, until strength becomes your default instead of your exception. Stay with me until the very end, because the final habit is the one many Stoic teachers considered the foundation of every other lesson. Once you truly understand it, you'll never look at your own life the same way again. One winter morning, before the streets of Rome had fully awakened, a man sat alone, with nothing but a wax tablet and his own thoughts. Outside, an empire demanded his attention. Generals waited for orders. Politicians argued over power. Messengers carried news of war, betrayal, and death. Every voice wanted something from him. Yet before he answered the world, he answered himself. Marcus Aurelius understood a truth that modern life makes dangerously easy to forget. The first battle you fight each day is not against your schedule, your responsibilities, or the people around you. It is against whatever gains control of your mind first. Within seconds, your attention belongs to notifications, headlines, opinions, arguments, and endless comparisons. Before you've even had the chance to decide who you want to be today, the world has already started deciding for you. That is how most people surrender without realizing they're in a battle. The Stoics believed your morning was sacred because it was the moment your character was still being written. Every choice you made in that first hour quietly shaped every choice that followed. If you began the day reacting, chances were you would spend the rest of it reacting. But if you began with intention, you carried that discipline into everything else. Tomorrow morning, before you touch your phone, sit in silence for just 5 minutes. Ask yourself one question: what kind of person do I choose to become today? Not what you want to achieve, not how much money you want to make, not what problems you hope disappear. Ask who you will be: patient, disciplined, calm, honest. Once you've answered that question, protect it as if your entire day depends on it, because it does. The strongest people are not those who win every battle. They are the ones who refuse to lose the first battle of the day. And if you're finding value in this conversation so far, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Every week, we explore timeless Stoic wisdom and practical lessons that help you build a stronger, calmer, and more disciplined mind. If that's the path you're committed to walking, I'd be honored to have you with us. Now let me tell you about a habit that quietly destroys more lives than failure ever could. A young student once traveled hundreds of miles to study under the Stoic teacher Epictetus. He expected to learn secret techniques for success, influence, and happiness. Instead, Epictetus asked him a question that left him speechless. "What exactly belongs to you?" The student answered with confidence, "My possessions, no. My reputation, no. My family, no. My career." Again, Epictetus shook his head. One by one, every answer disappeared. Finally, the teacher smiled and said, "The only thing that truly belongs to you is the way you choose to respond." At first, that sounds disappointing, until you realize how much freedom it contains. Most people spend their lives trying to control things that were never theirs to control. They lose sleep over other people's opinions. They replay conversations they cannot change. They worry about outcomes that haven't happened and may never happen. They exhaust themselves fighting battles that exist only inside their imagination. It's like trying to stop the wind with your hands. No matter how hard you try, you'll only become tired. The Stoics trained themselves differently. Whenever something unexpected happened, they asked one simple question: "Is this within my control?" If the answer was yes, they acted with courage. If the answer was no, they released it without resentment. Imagine how much peace would enter your life if you practiced that every single day. Someone insults you. Can you control their words? No. But you can control whether those words become your identity. You lose an opportunity. You cannot change the past, but you can decide whether disappointment becomes an excuse or a lesson. Life stops feeling unfair when you stop demanding that it obey your expectations. Instead, you begin asking a far more powerful question: what can I do with this moment? That question changes everything. Because the moment you stop chasing control over the uncontrollable, every ounce of your energy returns to the only place it has ever truly belonged: your own mind. Every great civilization eventually discovers the same truth. It is not destroyed from the outside first. It collapses from within. The same is true for a human mind. No one wakes up one morning emotionally broken. It happens gradually. One compromise at a time. One excuse at a time. One moment of choosing comfort over growth, until comfort quietly becomes a prison. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They believed that every difficult moment life placed before you carried a hidden question. Will this make you weaker, or will this make you wiser? The answer was never found in the event itself. It was found in your response. There's an old story about a young Roman who complained constantly to his teacher. Every inconvenience became a crisis. The weather was too cold. His work was too difficult. His friends didn't appreciate him. Nothing ever seemed fair. One day, the teacher handed him a small stone and told him to carry it everywhere. The young man laughed. "What difference could a stone possibly make?" "Carry it," the teacher replied. After several hours, the stone became annoying. After a full day, it became exhausting. By the second day, the young man threw it onto the ground and shouted, "I've had enough." The teacher calmly looked at him and said, "The stone never became heavier. You simply became less willing to carry it." How often do we do exactly the same thing? We tell ourselves life has become unbearable, when in reality, it is our patience that has grown smaller. Our discipline has weakened. Our perspective has narrowed. The obstacle didn't become larger. We became less capable of facing it. That is why Stoicism doesn't promise an easier life. It promises a stronger mind. And once your mind becomes stronger, life begins to feel lighter. Not because your burdens disappeared, but because you've become capable of carrying them. This is why the Stoics deliberately practice discomfort. Not because suffering is noble, not because pain is enjoyable, but because comfort is addictive. The more comfort controls you, the more fragile you become. Think about it. If silence makes you uncomfortable, you become dependent on constant noise. If being alone frightens you, you become dependent on other people. If criticism destroys your confidence, you become dependent on approval. Every dependency is another chain around your mind. Freedom begins the moment you stop needing the world to feel exactly the way you want it to feel. Try something this week. Choose one small discomfort on purpose. Wake up 30 minutes earlier than usual. Finish the difficult task you've been avoiding. Take a cold shower. Leave your phone in another room while you work. Sit quietly with your own thoughts instead of reaching for endless distraction. These may seem like small actions. They're not. Every time you willingly choose discomfort, you send a powerful message to your mind. I am in charge. That message compounds over weeks, over months. Eventually, it becomes your identity. Because confidence isn't built by telling yourself you're strong. It's built by repeatedly proving that you can do hard things. Every challenge you overcome becomes evidence. Evidence that you are more disciplined than yesterday, more resilient than last month, more capable than the person you used to be. And here's something most people never realize. The goal isn't to become fearless. The Stoics were never trying to eliminate fear. Even Marcus Aurelius felt fear. Even Seneca admitted to anxiety. Even Epictetus acknowledged uncertainty. Courage has never meant the absence of fear. It means refusing to let fear make your decisions. There will always be moments when your heart beats faster, when doubt whispers that you're not ready, when your mind invents reasons to wait. Don't wait. Move anyway. Every courageous action weakens fear. Every avoided action strengthens it. Your future is quietly being shaped by whichever one you practice more often. If one of these ideas has challenged the way you think, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and tell me which lesson has spoken to you the most so far. I read your comments because they help shape future conversations on this channel. And if you're enjoying this journey into Stoicism, subscribe now so you never miss the next lesson. Together, we're building something far more valuable than motivation. We're building a disciplined mind. Now, there is another habit that separates ordinary people from those who remain calm while everyone else falls apart. It isn't physical strength, it isn't intelligence. It's something much quieter. And once you develop it, you'll discover that the greatest victories in life are often the ones no one else can see. Most people believe their greatest enemy is failure. The Stoics believed it was something far more dangerous, a distracted mind. Not because distraction steals a few minutes of your day, because it steals your life one unnoticed moment at a time. Imagine standing beside a river. Every second, the current carries away another drop of water, never to return again. Time works the same way. It doesn't pause because you're overwhelmed. It doesn't slow down because you're waiting for the perfect opportunity. It simply keeps moving, whether you're paying attention or not. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself of this almost daily, not because he was obsessed with death, but because he understood the value of a single moment. Every hour wasted chasing meaningless worries was an hour that could never be reclaimed. Now think about the average day. How many times do you begin an important task only to check one notification? One message becomes 5. 5 minutes become 30. 30 minutes become an hour. By the end of the day, you feel exhausted, yet strangely unfulfilled. Not because you worked too hard, because your attention was divided into 1,000 tiny pieces. The modern world profits from your distraction. Every notification competes for your focus. Every headline demands your emotion. Every advertisement whispers that happiness is just one more purchase away. The Stoics would have recognized this immediately. They would have seen distraction for what it truly is: a quiet thief. It doesn't kick down your front door. It politely asks for 1 minute, then another, until years have quietly disappeared. That is why one of the greatest Stoic habits is learning to guard your attention as carefully as you would guard your home, because whatever repeatedly captures your attention eventually shapes your character. Feed your mind fear every day, and fear becomes familiar. Feed it anger, and anger becomes your language. Feed it comparison, and nothing you achieve will ever feel enough. But feed it wisdom, feed it discipline, feed it truth, and slowly, almost invisibly, you become the kind of person who remains steady while everyone else is being pulled in 100 different directions. This doesn't happen overnight. A tree doesn't become strong because of one sunny afternoon. It becomes strong because it survives countless storms. Your mind grows the same way. Every time you choose focus over distraction, you're strengthening something invisible. Every time you resist the urge to react immediately, you're building patience. Every time you pause before speaking in anger, you're becoming someone your future self will thank you for becoming. People often ask what mental strength looks like. They imagine confidence, power, fearlessness. But real mental strength is much quieter. It's the ability to remain calm while everyone else panics. To stay kind when others become cruel. To keep your integrity when dishonesty would be easier. To continue moving forward after disappointment without allowing bitterness to take root. These victories rarely receive applause. No one celebrates the argument you chose not to start. No one notices the temptation you quietly resisted. No one sees the discipline it took to wake up early when every part of you wanted another hour of sleep. But your character notices. Every unseen decision becomes another brick in the foundation of the person you're becoming. This is why the Stoics cared so little about appearances. They knew that reputation belongs to other people. Character belongs to you. One can disappear overnight. The other follows you everywhere. So the next time you're tempted to chase recognition, stop for a moment and ask yourself a different question. If no one ever knew I did this, would I still choose to do it? That single question reveals more about your character than almost anything else. Because discipline that depends on applause isn't discipline, it's performance. Virtue that exists only when people are watching isn't virtue, it's acting. The strongest people are often invisible. They don't need everyone to know they're improving. They don't announce every victory. They don't seek validation for every sacrifice. They're too busy becoming the person they promised themselves they would become. And one day, people look at them and call them lucky. They never saw the early mornings, the lonely decisions, the uncomfortable conversations, the countless moments when giving up would have been easier. What they call luck, the Stoics called daily practice. Now we're approaching the final lessons, and these may be the most important of all, because everything we've talked about so far leads to one ultimate realization, a realization that has the power to completely transform how you spend the rest of your life. Once you truly understand it, you'll stop delaying the person you're meant to become and start living with a clarity that very few people ever experience. Every Stoic teacher eventually arrived at the same conclusion. No matter how disciplined you become, no matter how calm you appear, no matter how much wisdom you collect, if you forget that your time is limited, you'll eventually begin living as though you have forever. And that is one of the greatest illusions the human mind has ever believed. Most people postpone the life they truly want. I'll start next month. I'll become disciplined when things settle down. I'll repair that relationship someday. I'll finally chase my purpose when the timing feels right. But life has never promised the perfect moment. In fact, life rarely announces that a moment is your last chance. One ordinary conversation becomes the final conversation. One ordinary morning becomes the last morning someone ever sees. One ordinary goodbye becomes permanent. This isn't meant to frighten you. It's meant to wake you up. The Stoics practiced remembering death, not because they were fascinated by endings, but because they understood that remembering the end teaches you how to value the present. When you remember that your time is limited, you stop wasting entire days trying to impress people who don't truly matter. You stop carrying resentment that has weighed you down for years. You stop postponing difficult decisions that you've known needed to be made. Most importantly, you stop waiting to become the person you already know you're capable of becoming. Imagine looking back on your life decades from now. Will you remember the arguments you won online? Will you remember the opinions of strangers? Will you remember the expensive things you worked endlessly to own? Probably not. But you'll remember the moments you acted with courage when fear wanted you to run. You'll remember the promises you kept, the people you loved, the discipline you built, the times you stood back up after life knocked you down. Those moments become your legacy, not because the world remembers them, because they changed who you became. Marcus Aurelius once reflected that every emperor before him had eventually become a name in a history book. Some remembered, most forgotten. The realization didn't make him hopeless, it made him humble. He understood that chasing fame is like chasing smoke. Character, however, remains with you every single day you are alive. That is why the Stoics measured success differently. Not by applause, not by wealth, not by status, but by one simple question. Did I become a better human being today than I was yesterday? Imagine asking yourself that every evening before you sleep. Not, how much money did I make? Not, how many people admired me? Simply, did I become more patient, more disciplined, more honest, more courageous? If the answer is yes, then today was a victory, even if nobody else noticed. Because the greatest victories rarely happen in public. They happen quietly, inside your own mind. And that's exactly where every meaningful transformation begins. If today's message has stayed with you, don't let it become another video you simply watched and forgot. Subscribe to the channel for more Stoic wisdom designed to strengthen your mind one lesson at a time. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Which of these Stoic habits are you going to begin practicing today? Your answer might inspire someone else who's walking the same path. Remember this, an unbreakable mindset isn't built in one dramatic moment. It's built in thousands of ordinary decisions that nobody applauds. It's built when you choose discipline over distraction, courage over comfort, patience over anger, wisdom over impulse. Again and again, until those choices no longer feel like choices. They become who you are. One day, someone will look at your calmness during chaos and assume you were born different. They'll see your discipline and call it talent. They'll admire your confidence without ever seeing the years you spent battling your own doubts. They'll notice the strength, but they'll never see the thousands of invisible moments that created it. That's the Stoic way. You don't build your character for recognition. You build it because one day, life will test everything you claim to believe. And when that day comes, your habits, not your intentions, will answer for you. So when you wake up tomorrow morning, don't try to become a completely different person. Just win the first decision, then the next one, and the one after that. Because a powerful life is never created all at once. It's created one disciplined choice at a time. The world will always be unpredictable. People will disappoint you. Plans will fail. Seasons will change. But if you learn to govern your own mind, you'll discover something that Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca understood centuries ago. The strongest fortress you'll ever build isn't made of stone. It's the one no storm can enter, the one you build within yourself.